United States has just instituted a blockade on Venezuela, and a blockade is an act of war. And it looks like there's a whole lot more coming than just that. So, my friends, it is time to buckle up and see what happens here. As you may know, uh, what Trump has done is he's instituted this blockade against sanctioned oil oil vessels, sanctioned oil tankers. And essentially, that's going to mean no oil tankers that are going to be going in and out of Venezuela, and probably no cargo ships carrying military supplies either. So this is a blockade. Will the Russians fly in some of their cargo aircraft? Russians do have 120 military personnel on the ground in Venezuela looking after Panzer air defense systems. So Russia is there in some, now that's not direct combat troops, but you can bet they will be telling how Venezuela to fire these things at our aircraft, which is no different than what we've been doing in Ukraine against Russian aircraft. So it all kind of comes around, right? But this is a big thing. And it's going to escalate because we've got a lot of other assets down there, including those F-18 EA or however it goes, Growler aircraft that will be going in and initiating electronic warfare initially to try to take down a lot of the capabilities of the Venezuelans before we move in. And then you can expect, it's said that we may have CIA assets on the ground in Venezuela right now. And gosh knows what else is coming. You can expect there's a good probability that we may go in selectively in terms of land strikes with people. You can definitely expect Tomahawk missiles and other assets to be used in there most likely. So we have all the gear down there. So this is very likely to escalate unless Maduro says, hey, I'm out of here. Now, there's some prospects for that a little bit. As you know, the United States tried to work up a deal with Turkey for Maduro to go to Turkey. Well, it turns out that the head of Belarus, oh shoot, what's his name? The head of Belarus, I know his name, but anyway, he basically said that, come to me later, he said that Lachenko, yes, Lachenko. I'm not running from a script here, guys, and I'm just talking to you right now. I'm going to show some articles on that. Lachenko come out and said that Maduro can come to Belarus. So we'll see what happens with that. So he's trying to get him over there to Belarus. But guys, we basically isolated Venezuela right now. Colombia is not going to be happy with this, but they're really going to do anything because we've been attacking boats, fast boats off the shore of Colombia in the Pacific. And so they're pretty puckered up over there too. Brazil is not going to like this, but Brazil doesn't really have any roadways going up toward Venezuela, so there's not anything that they can marshal any military equipment to. And I don't think they want to tangle with the Eagle. So I really doubt if they're going to do anything from Brazil. So now Guyana, over just east of Venezuela, has, they're right next to them, has been threatened by Venezuela repeatedly because Venezuela said, well, Guyana's really ours. And so they talked about invading Guyana. So we may put some troops in Guyana just to kind of safeguard them. These are all possibilities. These are the kind of things you might expect to see going down and happening. So we don't know how all this is going to play out. We're just talking about some of the prospects to it, but it is definitely escalating. The escalation is continuing, and Donald Trump called these troops and said, hey, your holidays are canceled, so you don't have troops sitting around on their thumbs over Christmas for nothing. So I would expect things to really start happening there, like maybe tomorrow, today. I think it's already, yeah, we're my time zone here. We're already 4 minutes into, it's already 4 minutes into tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day it never comes, right? Anyway, so I'm going to share some articles, kind of give you guys some perspective about some of these things I'm talking about. And we're going to talk about them a little bit more in depth as we go through these articles like I normally do. So I've read these articles. I'm not going to go through and quote them, although I will pull out maybe some quotes from Donald Trump on one of these. But we're just going to talk about what the content is and really what it means, what the ramifications are. So we're going to do that right now. So bear with me. It takes me a minute to share these things. Hit the share button. And we're going to start right here. Yeah, I don't have a lot of assets that some other YouTubers have to pull things up as I'm talking and pop them here and there. But anyway, so here we are. Basically, Donald Trump said you're surrounded. And indeed, he's issuing this blockade. And we're going to look at some of the things that he said to them. Yeah, captured. Oh, yeah, they did capture, as you may know, and probably already well heard, a oil tanker, a sanctioned oil tanker. And Donald Trump said, when people asked him what he's going to do, so man, we'll keep it. Well, he's not just talking about the oil. He's talking about the tanker. So guess what? There was 5 oil tankers on the way to Venezuela, and when Trump announced his blockade, yeah, they turned around and left. They're going back home or somewhere else. Maybe they'll find another delivery point for whatever they're going to pick up, whatever they're going to leave. Well, if they're empty tankers, sometimes things are traded back and forth. There will not be going to Venezuela. Venezuela don't have a lot of refinery capabilities, so sometimes they bring in refined stuff and take Venezuela stuff out. But so this is going to cut Venezuela off economically quite a bit. So, yeah, the president wrote, Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America. He went on to say, it will only get bigger, and the shock to them will be like nothing they've ever seen before until such time as they return to the United States of America all the oil, land, and other assets that they previously stole from us. Now, what he's talking about there was that there were a lot of American oil companies that invested a lot of money in putting in rigs and drilling and setting up just a lot of hardware there that Venezuela nationalized. They nationalized those assets and claimed them for their own. And so that's what he's really getting to there. But this is really a geopolitical conflict. I'm going to show you more on that in a minute, where there's some really big things happening in the geopolitics area in terms of Chinese trying to cut off our access between our coast for shipping. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But anyway, the illegitimate Maduro regime, and he's talking about the previous election and how funny things went on there, is, according to some sources, I could be very careful how I put that here in this platform, because if you allege that certain things happen at the ballot boxes on this platform, they will shut you down immediately. So I gotta be very careful. So allegedly, okay. Anyway, he says the illegitimate Maduro regime is using oil from these stolen oil fields to finance themselves, drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping. That's quote unquote. These are words I can't say on my own here. But anyway, then he added for the theft of our assets and many other reasons, and that's a whole lot of it here, that he's going to be doing what he's doing there. He says, therefore, today I am ordering a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. I suppose that applies to those drug boats too, those fast boats. We've seen what's been happening with those. So, yeah, the nobody is going to put a multi-million-dollar oil tanker at risk to being lost in there. They're not going there. So we can see there's more on this here. It's just basically saying the same thing, talking about the seized oil tanker. It's just another article out of the AP stating the same thing. And as I mentioned, super tankers bound for Venezuela have been making U-turns already, fearing that interdiction. And the word is at least 5 have already changed course as of Monday, according to this. So, indeed, as I mentioned, over 120 Russian military advisors are in Venezuela, where that Panzer S-1 air defense system is at inner service. We've talked about this system here before on this channel. I mentioned it. And so we don't have to spank this any further. Moscow has pledged support, as has Beijing, to Caracas, Venezuela. But we'll have to see just how far they go with that. I don't think they want to risk a full-blown war with us over that, but you can't be 100% certain, but I don't think so. So, what was this? Venezuela is where Trump aims to annihilate our adversaries. As when Trump was in his first administration, I did kind of a detailed dive talking about the missile systems that Iran was sending to Venezuela. Very sophisticated missile systems and a lot of them. And of course, even then, the situation with Venezuela was they had access and were being visited and assisted by North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China. And so this is something I've been going over with you guys from years back. This is the case. So this article here is talking about how Beijing is actually trying to cut us off in the Arctic. We've only got like one icebreaker, almost no Coast Guard up around Alaska and anywhere north of there. So what Beijing has been aiming to do is cut us off at every choke point globally they can. And this is something that strategists really worry about. As you know, they've got both sides of the Panama Canal are controlled by Japanese, excuse me, Chinese, did I say Japanese earlier? I hope not, by Chinese companies. The ports of Balboa and Cristobal, however you say that, I'm not sure what the correct pronunciations are. Both of these on the Pacific and Atlantic coast are controlled by Chinese companies. We were supposed to have a deal set up for Palantir, not Palantir, for BlackRock to go in and get these, or some, BlackRock of all companies, good grief. But apparently their deal fell through. BlackRock kind of dropped the ball for some reason. Maybe they wanted to. Yeah, who would trust in BlackRock is putting yourself at risk. Anyway, so, and of course this is, we were telling them to close, but Beijing has however delayed the closing, citing national security interest. Well, where is the Panama Canal in the security interest of China unless they're planning a war with the United States and want to cut us off from ourselves? That is the only thing they could be talking about, which is a highly aggressive thing for them to say. That's an insult. That is almost them saying, hey, we want to fight you, so we won't be able to cut you off. They got no other security interest in Central America. We need to tell them to shut up and get out. Let me be blunt about that. If you got any doubts where I stand on this, because we are a bi-coastal nation, and it's cheaper to move stuff by water, especially big volumes. We move a lot of stuff between the east and west coast, including our naval assets by water. It's a national security interest to the United States to be able to connect our east and west coast with our naval powers. The only interest of national security China could have would be to cut that off, which would be something they would want to do in a time of war. Are they planning a war with us? Yes. Yes, they are. They're already at war with us, and essentially in a Sun Tzu sort of way. I've talked about that at great length here. We're only losing 70,000 Americans a year to the F-ball poison they sent at us. Anyway, so and here's the other thing. They actually were trying to cut us off at the Drake Passage, which is around the tip of South America. So they're working on the Arctic in case it ever gets ice-free. They're working on the Panama Canal. They're trying to control other things that may cross other areas of Central America and the Drake Passage. They were looking to totally, completely cut the United States off with our being able to move our naval assets and commerce from east to west coast. Now, we can still get a lot of stuff shipped by rail in trucks, but believe you me, we still ship a lot of stuff by sea. But it's mainly our naval assets. That's really what it boils down to. And so they were trying to set up this port facilities in Punta Arenas, Chile, to dominate the Drake Passage. That's what Xi Jinping is trying to set up. Fortunately for us, Chile just voted to go with a very conservative government, so the new government may not would go along with that. Just like Argentina has elected Milei, so Chile seems to be following the same pathway right now. Countries that have been under socialistic control are trying to get out, like Bolivia has wrestled out from under socialist control. We can only hope and pray that Brazil will follow suit. So, in any event, I kid you not, this is where the real crux of it is. This is what I will call the Donroe doctrine is about, is to keep China, Russia, any other foreign power that would be an adversary out of our hemisphere. And why is it important? Because we got to be able to trade between our coast. That's what it boils down to. And man, we got to be able to move our naval assets around in case we get into a war. That is the bottom line. So, Cornelius is talking about the National Security Council's proclamation of the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine here. And saying that we want to check and eventually end Chinese, Russian, and Iranian malevolent activities in the Western Hemisphere. You got to remember, large groups of Hezbollah moved into Venezuela and the rest of South America through Venezuela from Iran and all the Iranian proxy areas in the last few years. And because we had wide open borders, guess what? Some of those guys were coming in through Venezuela, and just like the Venezuelan cartels, yes, come in here. If you don't think they didn't, where are you at? So this has been a threat to us, but we've got to learn to be more competitive with Central and South America so that we look like a better value proposition to them than Chinese do. Chinese have had a way of making all kind of loan promises, but Chinese loans are different than our interbank monetary funds, whatever we've been using in the past, which is not a good thing to use. But essentially, they lure people, and it sounds good to start with, but they set up deals that nobody can really pay for, and then they wind up seizing a lot of assets of the country, and because they know ahead of time they can't pay for this stuff that they're trying to set up with them. So they're trying to cut deals, and they're doing this throughout the Pacific and Africa and South America, especially Africa, so they can seize critical resources, metals, and other things. So, what this is all about. Trump will not tolerate foreign influences compromising the integrity of America's hemisphere. And some people, well, we got to control our hemisphere. We got to be able to control getting from the east to west with our naval assets. That's the main thing. And we don't, just like the Cuban Missile Crisis, we don't need all this junk in our soft underbelly to the south coming up and hitting us. You got to remember, all our assets for radars and stuff are arrayed to the west, north, and west. We really haven't set up things like we should, missile defense and radar systems monitoring to the south. And it's a case. And what I worried about a long time ago, and I didn't mention it until somebody had a vision, she visualized in this vision from God, the one thing I was the most worried about was because, we got North Korea, we've got China, we got Russia and Iran all working with Venezuela. And as unstable as Venezuela is, somebody could just go a few miles off the shore from Venezuela in a cargo ship and launch nukes at America and EMP us, and we wouldn't even see them coming. And indeed, the North Koreans had the Chonggang tramp steamer running around in the Caribbean and Central America with two fully erect missiles on their missile launchers in an ISO shipping container. They couldn't get back. The Drake Passage was weather got exceedingly bad there. They couldn't get back that way. They had to go through the Panama Canal. So they buried it under just a massive amount of sugar, thinking that no one would dig that deep, but we did, and we found them. So, yeah, guys, and when they were out there was the same time that our Metcalf station got hit during that period. And about we don't know who did the ballistic attack on the Metcalf substation near San Jose. It was a looked like a dry run type practice attack, according to the Naval SEAL teams that looked at it. And the day that happened was the same day the North Korean satellite first flew over Washington, D.C. And Stacy Zavicki had a vision of two missiles flying from offshore of Venezuela and EMP in the East Coast of the United States. I did some videos just talking about EMP and the threat of it. And because I started out as a farming, gardening channel, which is the kind of channel she had. She was watching me for that reason. Suddenly I started talking about EMP, and she had this vision. She milked cows and grew gardens. She knew nothing about military stuff. She knew nothing about an EMP even. She called me. She contacted me, Greg. I've had this vision. What is this? And I go, you had a vision of what? The one thing I was most worried about. Wow. So we don't know that somebody still couldn't sneak something in there on a cargo ship, not destined straight into Venezuela now, but I don't think it's going to happen with all our assets in there. At least not right now. But if we don't mop it up, it could. We may have averted this. Prophecies are things you can do something about. As Jonah found out. Nineveh found out. Nineveh had, and what was a couple other cities. Is Nineveh another city that had the prophecy against them? And they changed their ways and was spared the destruction that was to come to them. I don't think we've changed our ways very well here, but something to think about. Something to think about. So, anyway, I'll check the chat here in a little bit, guys. So, I'm monitoring to see if I get any big colors, like somebody's throwing a super chat in or something. But I will go through and glance at the top. I'm not going to be here too late tonight. I got to get up in the morning, and I haven't had much sleep in the last couple of nights. So I'm pretty tired, guys. So U.S. military strikes 3 more boats in the Pacific, terminating 8 more. So we know this stuff's been going on. Like I said, that's off Colombia. And, things are getting dicey down there. We put out this NOTAM, a no-fly zone notice for Venezuela, but, some people just don't understand what that means. And we had a JetBlue jet almost collide with one of our refueling tankers. Kid you not. So let's look at where the ships are. Now, this is kind of interesting. The ship deployments. We got nothing in this area. Nothing anywhere around Europe with everything going on there. Nothing near the Mideast with everything going on. So where's our emphasis? We got 3 aircraft carriers off China, basically. And we got 1, maybe 2 that looks like they're just about within range of that aerial denial anti-access missile system, set of missile systems that China has. These are both close to being at risk. This one, actually, it's probably within range of the Guam killers have been this far out and moving fast. They probably think they can avoid them. This one is maybe the standby. So we got the USS Tripoli and the George Washington over it's in Japan. This guy's in the South China Sea. USS Tripoli. And then we got the Abraham Lincoln standing off, maybe in reserve. So that's interesting configuration. Another interesting configuration we have the southern and northern end of our west coast protected, as if maybe we're expecting an attack. I mean, they're just right there. And our east coast is somewhat protected, but because we got this guy here, and maybe this guy could count for that, the USS Ford. We got the USS H.W. Bush here. The Nimitz is up here, which is on the verge of retiring. I hope they don't retire it really right now. And the USS Boxer's down here. So off San Diego. This is probably around Seattle somewhere. So this guy is down here to project power into Venezuela. The USS Ford. Oh yeah, we got the USS Ford and the Iwo Jima. That's right. We got the Iwo Jima, which is a amphibious attack type carrier. It's a helicopter ship basically for Marines. So It shows one diamond, but it's really two right here. Plus the USS George H.W. Bush is close enough it could run down and give fire support if needed, or stay up here to protect the East Coast. A very interesting deployment configuration for our carriers. Very, very interesting. Guys, it might be time you might want to consider. Look at this. Silver has gone up again. Everybody's talking about, well, it hit the highest ever at 64. Well, now it's $66.16 per troy ounce. And I've already showed you some people are thinking it's going to go up to 95 or higher. And gold, $4,337.20 per troy ounce. Gold's been holding, but it's kind of creeping back up a little bit. But silver is where things are moving. You might want to buy some silver rounds, some silver bars. Defy the Grid has one of the best price structures for anybody. So you want to check it out. You can use the discount code GreenGregs to get 1% off. They only operate on a margin of 3 to 4%, so that's pretty generous considering how they try to keep their prices down. But check with defythegrid.com. I'll put links below, and maybe some of my mods will add them. Hey, JoJo. And we will we will go through this later, but yeah, discount code GreenGregs. And you get gold backs there, and you get the silver equivalent too also. So, and Trump is declared. Now, when you hear me talking about F-ball, you gotta be careful what you're selling here. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about F-ball. It's now been considered a weapon of mass destruction. And some people go, well, what's it called? It's a weapon of mass destruction. Some people crying about this. Guys, this stuff is extremely toxic. And I have been worried. And I used to tell you, tell you guys some time back that there was something I was worried about that I couldn't tell you. I was worried about being deployed from drones. Well, then somebody published it, several months later. Somebody had to put it out in the dang press. So now it's loose. Everybody's seen and heard of it. The whole biggest concern I got is when people put this in the ag drone and go over and spray crowds, spray an airfield, spray a tarmac. You could, go over the doomsday planes before they launch or whatever, then nobody's going to be getting access to them. You'll be doing the funky chicken, getting the air systems. No. This is the kind of stuff I've been talking about. These aircraft, these agriculture spraying drones are all over the place. There's lots of them. They carry a big payload. This stuff is really deadly, and this chemical is already all in the United States. It wouldn't be hard for some sleeper cell to put this together and essentially have an easy, cheap weapon of mass destruction at their fingertips at the snap of a finger. They already got all the ingredients at their fingertips for horrible weaponry. This stuff, we got to keep this stuff out of this country. We got to get it out and keep it out. So this is awful stuff. And the Chinese buying all this land near our military bases, especially Air Force bases in particular. And also Fort Bragg, because we got the 82nd Airborne that would get deployed, and the Green Beret are there, which could get deployed. So, if they can spray this stuff over Polk Air Force Base, the 82nd Airborne and Green Beret ain't going nowhere. You see what I'm saying? So this is, they seem to be focused with their land buying in these areas, and this is why. And this is why I've been worried about this. I'm talking about this, but I wasn't naming it for a long time, and then somebody come out and published it. Okay, that's published, so I'll just let you know what it was. But I kind of alluded to this for many months. And nobody else was smart enough to know what I was talking about and didn't publish because they just somehow eventually figured it out. That's when you come to GreenGregs, guys. There's stuff I'm a little bit ahead of the curve on than a lot of other people. Like talking about sleeper cells long before anybody else. Talking about some of the rest of our power grid. I had run 2 power grid defense conferences before I ever did any YouTube channel and stuff. I was a guest on Rex Bear's Leak Project, just promoting my power grid defense conference. That's how I really got my YouTube start. Anyway, so U.S. says the first time it will now here it is. U.S. says for the first time it will respond militarily if Russia attacks Ukraine again. This is according to the Polish Prime Minister, not us, and it's published in this Ukrainian Pravda magazine. I don't know. If we do, we are, and maybe that's how we're trying to uh, get Ukraine in on the peace deal and Europe to back it. Um, and it's the warning to Russia. I'd say that if Russia does hit Ukraine again after the making peace treaty with Trump, Trump's going to be mad. So it's likely. But here's the other thing you got to know: we are actively planning to reduce and pull troops out of Europe. Not all of them, but a lot. We're going to reduce our force structure in Europe, and the plans are to reduce the number of generals we have, cut back on the general staff. Maybe we can put that money into weapons that we need to build. We're so far behind on munitions. We can't fight a war with China more than a week without running out of munitions. I hope we don't fight any war, but I believe in peace through strength, especially when you're dealing with some autocratic leaders. That's all they respect is strength. If you're not strong, hey, you're just chopped meat on a platter. Anyway, that's what it boils down to. So let's go on here. Now, Sergei Lavrov, he's normally a very reserved statesman, has come out. This guy right here, Sergei Lavrov, this kind of Herman Monster, right? He's actually known for being a very respectable, calm, not saying too much stuff, but he's come out and basically said that United Kingdom and France and several European countries are Nazifying. I kid you not. He said that there's a resurgence of Nazism. And he says here, the saddest and most hazardous thing uh, is that the theory and practices of Nazism are being resurrected in Europe, primarily in Brussels, but also in Berlin, London, Paris, and not to mention the Baltic states. And last time they used this kind of language was to attack Ukraine. He also claims Europe is waging a war with us once again, with Ukrainians under a Nazi flag. Well, that's not exactly true, but that he's going overboard with that. So also we got a lot of our old friends in the chat room. I'll check the chat in a little bit, guys. Let me get through the news first for our morning coffee club drinkers who will want to watch this in the morning. Speaking of coffee, so this is loaded language. This is the kind of language used to dehumanize somebody before you hit them. I have a hard time thinking Russia would actually just launch out and hit NATO nations over there because they got their hands full in Ukraine, but I couldn't rule it out entirely, but I have a hard time thinking that because Russia does have their hands full. So, but maybe he's just saying this because he knows what it will mean to the Europeans, and maybe he's trying to get them to back off. I don't know. But Lavrov don't say anything without approval, with the Putin's approval, basically. Putin runs the show. But anyway, look at this, guys. Zelensky pal Yermak had his office searched, and they found $14 million in cash and wire transfer infos on $2.6 billion. Where's your money going? Where's your money going? We're sending our taxpayer money over there. Where's it going? See, well, some of us are a little reluctant. Don't want to throw a bunch of money over there. If you think we need to be throwing more money at Ukraine, put a one in the chat room. If you think we shouldn't be sending any money or over there, put a two in. Anyway, so now this is going. U.S. military willing to attack designated terrorist organizations within America. This is according to General Gregory Galat. He is commander of U.S. Northern North, and which also has the American Aerospace Defense Command, which is like NORAD. So that is interesting. I hope that they're only talking about foreign terrorist groups, like some of these sleeper cell camps that are in this country, training camps. We know they're here, and they shouldn't be. The FBI don't seem to be able to identify anything, so maybe somebody else has got to step in. But the FBI can't seem to catch anybody right now. Anyway, so let's hope that's all they're talking about. But they're saying they wouldn't have any illegal orders, which would be attacking American citizens extrajudicially, like Obama did with a couple of U.S. citizens, a father and a 16-year-old son, with a missile in the Mideast. And yet they want to talk about these boats. Anyway, yeah, they don't want to talk about what Obama authorized. I'm not saying any of this stuff is good, guys, but geez. And just so you know, if you're 18 or 19-year-old young man, Congress is moving closer to a military draft. They've not liked this registration system that we've had because a lot of people aren't registering. And when they move, they're not reporting their moves. This would be automatic. They're looking at a system that automatically puts them in, wherever they're at, whatever. They don't even have to come in and sign up. They're automatically signed up and registered. I don't know what they're using as data sources, driver's license, birth certificates, how they keep up with. Oh, yeah, we got Palantir and all kind of stuff spying on us today. So I guess it's easy to do now. So they're going to ramp this up. And the whole purpose is so that the selective service system can start a draft post haste. Why would we want to do that? Maybe because we are suspecting we're going to have a war. With who? So before we go into that, we'll talk about something here. China's population's fallen, their birth rate's fallen. But they're so much bigger in the United States that they're still having 5 times more people, young men reaching the 18-year-old level than we have. In their military service, only 40% of their population is unfit for military service, whereas to us it's 80% or above. So that means they have twice as many people available for military service. What's the problem? Being fat or something? I mean, we got various problems here. Being overweight and just other health problems, couch potatoes, and sitting around doing this all day. Kids don't play outside like we did in the 60s and 70s. So what that really means is that China actually has 10 times more young people they can put in service. 10 times. So that is something to really, really think about. 10 times, guys. Yeah, I'm going to chat room in a little bit, guys. So, and that may be why they're doing this. We can't match them man for man, ship for ship. We got to be smart. I'll have to talk more about that in the future. Are we on the verge of a civil war? Are we already in a civil war? It seems the left has been up to something. Charlie Kirk, now Ella Cook. Ella Cook was at Brown University in Rhode Island. So she was from Mountain Brook in Alabama. She was from my old home state, Alabama. She was only 19 years old. She was the vice president of the College Republican group. And was that a coincidence? A lot of people don't think so. There was an 18-year-old guy who had a Middle Eastern name that we don't know what that really means in this case, who was, I believe it was from West Virginia or somewhere. Definitely not the kind of place you expect a Middle Eastern. You got to remember one thing. There are Christians in the Middle East. There are Christian Palestinians. There are Christian They're Coptic Christians from Egypt. So we went to a restaurant and it was having barbecue, and this Mideastern guy ordered barbecue pork. And I go, huh? He said, "Oh, I'm a Coptic Christian." I said, "Oh, okay." Anyway, so yeah, I was surprised by that. So you can't tell everything from names, but names are kind of suggestive. Let's put it that way. But this just on the tail of what happened to Charlie Kirk. Now her, sweet young lady, but somebody didn't like her. Some sick individual, and we haven't caught them. They had to capture the guy of interest, and they turned him loose. Apparently, there's a lot of stuff out there on him. I'm not going to go into this and say turn him loose because really they haven't found who did it. In spite of the fact that 30 rounds were fired, and I guess tragic. How many times did I sit in the engineering building at UAH, Huntsville, Alabama, studying at night, just like weekends, just like if you're in engineering school, that's all you do. You ain't got time to do nothing. You got no social life. You don't watch TV, sports. All you do is hit that book 24/7 almost. That's why I don't sleep much. That's where I lost my sleeping habit, was in college. Good grief. I mean, it was always studying. We went anywhere, the wife drove, and I sat over in the passenger seat and studied and read. And when we'd go out to visit her family, I'd sit in a chair with the books. That's all I did for years, years and years. All I did was study. Yeah, engineering school, it's not a cakewalk. And it's mostly mathematics. So calculus of all kinds. So yeah, Ali Akbar, right? So this thing in Australia, oops, I shouldn't have said that. Pardon me. Snack bar. Good golly, snack bar. I don't know what I'm going to say here, but 15 people lost their lives and 25 injured. Such a tragic event in Australia. Well, they had two ISIS flags. And of course, they're now, they're calling for gun control in Australia. More, already had the biggest gun control anywhere. But it turns out that the weapons were legally purchased, which means, to get a weapon in Australia almost takes an act of Congress. You got to prove that you have a reason to have it and that they're supposed to do background checks on you. Never mind that this father and son went to the southern part of the Philippines and apparently went to an ISIS training camp. Yeah. There's always, when these things happen, there's always so many warning bells. Boom, boom, boom. How did that get missed? Maybe because of the background, the Liberal administration in Australia just wanted to turn and ignore it. And you know what the Prime Minister of Australia did? He actually went on a verbal attack against right-wing extremists. I kid you not. That was his response, was to do a verbal attack on right-wing extremists. I kid you not. What did this have to do with that? You see how they try to do everything? Yikes. Does the Bondi Beach massacre prove liberal governments love these mass bang bangs? Yeah. Blame the victims. Yeah, check this out. Hide the identities of the bangers. Of course, unless they look like you and me. Blame the victims. If they are inconvenient, blame the victims. Like Charlie Kirk. Oh, it's his fault. He got, no, it wasn't. But you've seen the liberals post this stuff left and right, and they're still putting that stuff out. Yikes. So, political leaders trying to associate with right-wing extremism. I kid you not. Even though most of the bang bangers were Yeah, just highlighting. I am not going to say it. According to this article, claim the existence of guns punish law-abiding citizens wherever criminals use them. So there he is, Prime Minister of Oz down here. These politicians don't seem to grasp the. Oh, what happened? Oh, it went to X. I'm trying to go to X. So, my friends from down under, are you going to vote for this man next election? Aussie PM. Mm-mm-mm. There's other articles on this topic. I don't know. Keep in mind that Australia has a population smaller than the state of Texas with 11 times as much land. Most of Australia is a wilderness where firearms are often necessary, though necessity should not matter to gun rights, according to these guys. You know, it's like me when I was in Alaska. I knew I was going to have to live in a land with ginormous bears, so I wanted something big that would. I had no illusion about taking a bear out. I just wanted to slow them down. Jeez, the bears up there are ginormous. I got a 44 mag. It was a Super Black Hawk made by Ruger. Anyway, just it was the most powerful hand nug available at the time back in 1981. Oh yeah, that it travels with me wherever I go. It goes with me. Trust me, that's my high power. Anyway, I got a couple of little 9 millionth of a meter, thousandth of a meter nugs too, if you know what I mean. 9 thousandths of a meter nugs. All right, we're almost done here. Weather, guys. There's another river. There's another atmospheric river heading for Washington State and Oregon. It may spray the whole western United States a little bit. They're talking about 2 weeks. So if you're in a flood zone, get out. If you're anywhere in Washington, Oregon, in the flood zone, those places have already suffered horribly. There's more coming. And now look what they're forecasting: 60 inches of snow in some places. No, technically, winter's not here yet. It comes at the solstice, which is just a few days away. Yikes. Guys, this is crazy. Hey, Al Gore, I want my money back. You promised us no snow. Yeah, give me my money back, Al Gore. Anyway, yikes, all the tax money we've thrown that way. All his money made from carbon credits. That carbon credit scam he set up. Yikes. Which Al Gore said, there'd be no more snow past, 2010 or something. Knock, knock. Wake up, Al Gore. Everybody else that listens to now. How would you look at all these earthquakes? Sheesh, the ring of fire is really ringing. Puerto Ricans not dancing too hard tonight, but look at this. 5.0, Chiniak, Alaska. Look at this, is a ton up here in Alaska. And over here off the coast of Japan. A lot of them right off here. That's Kuril, Russia. That's the islands they got off of Japan. All right, that's those Russian islands that they claimed after World War II and never gave back. Japan claims them too. Russia took them from Japan in World War II. Solomon Islands, 5.3. Well, just a lot of stuff, but I know a lot of people worry about the San Andreas fault. Alaska just popping everywhere. So if we go into here, that one's not right on the San Andreas Fault, but it's close. 3.0, Raman, California, 3.3 there. 3.1. We're really close to San Andreas Fault. What was this guy? Not quite Jellystone. Yeah, Valmy, Nevada. I don't know what that is. Anyway, guys, earthquakes are kind of intense around the Ring of Fire. Something's shaking. Now we're looking at our last one here, space weather. And fortunately, we don't have a lot of big sunspots looking at us, just some tiny little peppering of sunspots. The big ones went around to the other side, but we still got a major aurora. Pretty good aurora tonight. And why is that? Well, that is because we got a coronal holes. And they stream out a lot of solar wind, and they can cause auroras without coronal mass ejections. So there you go. 20 years ago, I don't remember anybody talking about coronal holes. I talked to some of my solar astronomer friends about this. I've got several friends that are solar astronomers. So, in any event, we'll look at the asteroids. And last time, a couple nights ago, when I was showing this chart, there was nothing ahead of time in the chart. But look, we had one come by on the 16th, which was the day when I pulled this chart up originally. It was now yesterday. It came in halfway between the Earth and the Moon. That was not on this chart ahead of time because we didn't know about it. We're always discovering stuff as it passes by us, or maybe sometimes when it's approaching us. But looking ahead, you don't see a lot there. What's that mean? We still got a lot of stuff to discover. That's what that means. The more we find them, the better we can prepare in case we get a hit. So there you are. I'm going to stop the share. And then I am going to look at the chat room. Now let's stop the share. I can look at the one on the computer. And we got 93 watching. Is that right? But what I do want to do is I'm going to check and see if I got any donations through my website tonight. We've been pretty good about the last couple of nights. We've been on with Kim Possible. I don't know if she's watching tonight or not, but she sometimes isn't chiming in because she works. And that's usually what she's doing when I'm on her. She's usually at work. Where's my email? That's the quickest way to check it. Ding, 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 ding. But yet, not tonight. But I like to give credit where credit's due. So let's see what everybody's saying real quick. I'm not going to read everything. Tim Casper, hello. Yes, we're fam, Mr. Dunham. The Derringer. All right, Arnold, good to see you. Cuban Nurse. Marie. Good to see you, Marie. Rodlam. Same old, same old. Rod, you know what, Rod? You're one of the ones that's criticizing everything. Things are happening, dude. Get your head out of the sand. Stuff's going on. Flavors of the forest garlic. That's a good name. Cali Prepper. If Russia can throw all these munitions, broader missile launches and jets, then something doesn't sit right with how the war in Ukraine is such a stalemate. Well, they've been claiming all along that it was just a what was the word they used for it? Not a full blown war, a special operation, and they've been claiming they've been holding back. I don't know. When the POTUS start zapping on specific boats, it's been weeks now. I don't know the exact day. We got Vegas now. It's good. All right. Hey, Jesse, my neighbor from up here in Northeast Arizona. This is a global high seas issue which America has to engage, but Canadian economics are at odds with each other politically, which doesn't help either country. That's true. Uncle Ghosty. That's a cool name. Old Yeller. Old Yeller. All right. Yeah, in case, yeah, Arnold is Canadian. He's from Alberta. Mr. Pergius. Jojo, how you doing? How you doing, Colorado Jan? Good to see you. Eat slugs, Potter. What? That's a funny name. Eat slugs, Potter. I don't know if I want to be eating a slug. They sent the nuke sniffer plane over the area searching for Russian nuke subs. With the declaration opened several countries up to being nuked. Oh, yeah, weapons of mass destruction classification. I don't think we're going to be using nukes in South and Central America since that's our backyard, but can't say we wouldn't, but I don't think we would. We use weapons of mass destruction as the pretext for invading Iraq. Big time. We didn't nuke Iraq, but we hit them with shock and awe. And that was the pretext we used for going in. We know that Venezuela is more of a cocaine distributor, not so much, fentanyl, but sometimes that cocaine is taken north and mixed with fentanyl, usually in Mexico. And nobody's talking about hitting Mexico right now, but that may come. Trump had been interested in going in and just hitting the cartels in Mexico. Most Mexicans would probably cheer that on because that's why they had all those big protests and people attacking the president's mansion. Even they went in Mexico City, huge protests, people wanting to get rid of the drug cartels. And there was truckers that had a strike in Mexico. They went to the U.S. border, not to sell off stuff coming to America, but sell off stuff from Mexico. So the Mexican truckers were on our side, basically. So a lot of twos. Morning, I'm in Scotland. Everyone is saying they will not go and fight the war for Stammer. Oh, no men will leave their wives and children while we are being invaded by boat people. Yeah, y'all need to, yeah, why y'all got Stammer? Yeah, because I guess it's a party thing. Yeah, I know prime ministers aren't directly elected, unfortunately. But yikes, guys. Mm. Yeah, me no fan of Starmer, but y'all can do something about that. Planets, if I was in Great Britain, I would be, oh, ooh, I would not be happy with Starmer. Let me just put it that way. I know that's a fact. Planets are lining up fairly soon, so lots of shaking. Okay. I believe the widespread ownership of productive assets, maybe it's outdated. Now, oh, what do you mean by widespread ownership? Somebody's got to invest to build them. Somebody does. And plan their execution. Don't worry, we'll be hammering it out there. Where the money's going, I don't know. DNP, Dean P 1359. Whoa, you remind me. A warm bowl of brown sugar maple oatmeal. Oh my gosh. Ho, ho, ho. Hey, doing the watchman? Uh-oh, injured? What's the head wrapped for? Are you okay? Oh yeah. Well, Elon, where he's coming from, the idea that well, all the robotics would totally put us out of work. They don't totally put us out of work, but he thinks just to keep the economy going, you need some kind of a uh, assured wage for everybody. Uh, my biggest concern with that is a lot of people equate their self-worth with the job they have. I don't think they should, but that's how a lot of people equate their self-worth. They have a sense of accomplishing something by going out and building things. We got to rethink how we get there because I think a lot of the problem in the Western societies, particularly America today, is there's a lot of young people that aren't getting jobs or living off social welfare, and they don't have that pride in themselves. They're turning to drugs. They have no vision, no dream. They're living day to day and doing a lot of drugs. And I know this because I know a lot of these people personally that are doing this. I've tried to get someone to actually do some work, and they don't want to. I just run down the road, back and forth. So uh, it's sad. So we need to find some other. If we live in a society that puts money out like that and people feel like they don't have to work, we need some other way for these people to live meaningful, productive lives. We need to find some challenges to get them involved in, some things that they would want to do. And maybe the payment should be somewhat in exchange for some, at least to some degree. And maybe you should at least volunteer a certain amount of time at some good cause. I don't know. We used to have uh, what was that, conservation corps, where young guys used to go out and plant trees in national parks and do things like that. I forgot what we called that. It still existed when I was a teenager. You know, a lot of times, young boys would be tempted to join something like that. It was real big back in uh, Depression era, I think. Conservation, what was the name of that? Something Conservation Corps. I don't remember the exact name of it now, but maybe some of you guys will put it in the chat room. Hey, any word on drone damage on that Russian submarine? Don't know. There's one hit a couple years ago. It's probably pretty amazing. It was sub attacked by a drone. KP Heathen, how you doing? Many list I see online claim West Virginia is one of the least expensive places to buy a home. That's very likely. My son is in school for engineering. Okay, Mr. Dunham. Um, well, I did it, and my youngest daughter became a software engineer. Yeah, you don't want to, your kids ought to be safe when they're at school, in any school. You shouldn't have to worry about my kids going to school. Oh no, shouldn't have to worry about that. Um, what's happening here is sad. But, to me, and I probably should do a Civil War video pretty soon. It seems like we're already in a sort of a civil war here. That is just so sad. Civilian Conservation Corps. There you go, CCC. The reason I didn't say it was CCP was popping in my head. I knew on that. Civilian Conservation Corps. CCC. That's it, right. Thank y'all. Thank you there, Joseph and Bob Rose. Anyway, let's see here. Civil Defense Burker, December 19th, Sarah Down interview warning event. Well, Three Eye Atlas is still going to be a long ways away on the 19th of December. A long ways away. Now, if it changes course, then you better pay attention. Let's see. Yeah, West Virginia is a lovely country. It's beautiful, the mountains. Uh, there are a lot of places where land is cheaper than others. Doesn't mean the home's always cheap. A lot here, land is cheap, but homes are not. Land is cheap out here, but homes are expensive. But you see what I did? I did my own. I rolled my own home. um, saved a ton of money doing that. It's a tiny home with 6-inch, studs in the wall, so I can put a lot of insulation in. Don't take much to heat this house. Being tiny and highly insulated. And oh yeah, the roof 2x6s, the floor is 2x6s, and there's insulation on the roof. I got styrofoam panels beneath under the floor, and it's mostly skirted. Just some opening so the cat can seek refuge underneath the house if it needs to. I still got Smokey. He's my Rat Force 2 cat. Anyway, powerful nuggets. There you go. That's right. 44 mag is a pretty good nugget. And there's some damage. 70-mile-an-hour winds forecast for Washington State this morning. Wow, the watchman. If you're in Washington State, you guys got to be careful. Watchman in Arizona County allows visitors. So, yeah, you can come visit Arizona. Land's cheap, houses are high. So if you can come up with some method to offset the housing cost, my neighbor a couple of plots above me, I think he's a little over half a mile away. He had a manufactured home put in. He probably saved a ton of money doing that. It's probably about a third of its expensive, but it looks like a regular house. It's got all the features in it. Looks good. There's ways to save money. You can buy tiny homes off Amazon, Walmart. There's different online services you can just order a tiny home, and some of them are not bad priced. Some of them are cheap. So, in fact, I could probably order one of those cheaper than I built this. There's some of them are cheaper, but I know I got a good sturdy house here and it's well insulated. So for me, that means a lot. I know what it is. I know how it's built because a lot of the nails and screws in this I put in myself. A good number of them. And I glued down floor panels and put the plywood up there. And I did have some help. Actually, I had a lot of help, but I did do a ton of this. Measured, planned where to put everything. So, and I had help from some of the brain power help came from an old buddy of Rex Bear and Diamond over in Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Rex from the Leak Project. That we all had a mutual friend, and they called him, referred to, because he didn't want his name used online. We all called him Old Geezer online. That wasn't his real name. I know what his real name is, but he never wanted it used. He's passed away, unfortunately, and unfortunately, so did his girlfriend, wife, whatever she was. Very unfortunate. Cascadia Seduction Zone earthquake is next. Yeah, that one will be awful. Whoops, I just had this thing skip with me a bunch. Where'd it go? I'm not going to make any predictions for the 19th of December because at 3i Atlas is going to be a long way from here. It's not going to be powerful enough that it's going to affect us. Maybe something else would, unless there's intelligent beings on there that take some kind of action. But if they fired something our way, unless it was an energy beam, and it would be hard to put a powerful enough energy beam to affect us from that distance. But it would take some time for an object from 3i Atlas to reach us, unless it's traveling at relativistic speeds, or they got warp drive. Can't rule that out. So I love that name. Flavors of the Forest. Garlic. I used to grow a lot of garlic. Now for Mr. Lamb, old Lamb, whatever his name was up there, it's always said, "How you every day's fearmonger?" Go back and look at all my videos in gardening. Look at all my videos in wild edibles. Or the video where I came out and said, "It's not over." Because I got tired of people putting out videos, but every title was "It's over." If you want to see some fear mongering, go watch New York Prepper or Canadian Prepper or just about any other channel. Civilian Conservation Corps, exactly. The strike on the Russian submarine crew came out today. Okay. That's interesting. That's a YouTube video. 14 hours ago. I hadn't seen that one. Thanks for sharing that. I spend hours every day scanning news, but that don't mean you get to see everything. I really do. I spent hours every day scanning news, several hours, just so I can put these programs together. Sometimes I don't have time to rack it all up and bring it to you, but that don't mean I hadn't worked on it. Yeah, we got to use clean language, and that's what the mods are for. Keep your language clean. We're a family channel. We tried to steal my kids' pride, and whatever you do, yeah, whatever the pay was. Amen. Amen to that. That's the way I was raised, old hillbilly. And I'm an old hillbilly too, by the way. We're talking about scrapping the electric truck. Yeah, might as well. 3i seems to be on its way out. Yeah, it's heading out the solar system. Greg, you have got to have worm drive. Yes, sir. And wormholes. I got wormhole generators. I certainly do. I got 5 cubic yards of them sitting out there and 10 ISO shipping, 10 IBC totes. Well, it's 5 of them cut in half, so it's 10 halves on sleds. My old sled bed worm beds. And so, yeah, for anybody that thinks I like these fear monger, go watch my worm videos. Shoot. I've done videos talking about ways you can make a living. I think I'm going to give a few more of those. Here's a guy with Rod Limb. Rod Limb. He's been real critical. Rod Limb, are you still in the house? If you are, say boo. You probably just poked your head in to throw a rock and left. That's what I'm guessing. Anyway. Yeah, Ford seems to be one of the smarter car companies. So yeah, they've lost a lot of money on these electric vehicles. Who wants them? The darn batteries are too expensive. More expensive than the vehicle, and your vehicle's only as good as the batteries last. And you got to spend a bunch of money to replace it. And if you got a cold, if you're in North Dakota and get caught out in a blizzard and stranded on the interstate for 3 days, and you're driving an electric vehicle, you're going to be a popsicle. And I wouldn't want to drive one. I lived in Alaska 2 years. I would not want one of those vehicles up there. There's a lot of places I would not want a vehicle like that. It's real talk here. That's right, JoJo. Amen to that. The news is the news. Stuff is happening. But some people want to stick their head in the sand, or I guess he's just a troll. He pops in and leaves comments a lot of times after I do a video. It's always something negative, never anything good to say. So I actually have to comment on one of his comments. I said, kiss my grits. I started to say bite my something. I thought, no, I can't say that. Anyway, alrighty, guys. Hey, Fazilli, how you doing? I'm here for worms and weather. Ha We did a little weather. Yeah, and I got worms. I did a worm video not too long ago. I did a video said I got worms. Where's the fear mongering in that? I've done some videos talking about my homestead progress. Problem is, those videos don't do so well. So videos like this, people really want to watch. So that's why I have not done so much of that other stuff. Because this is what everybody's worried right now. They're worried about what's coming. And so I'm letting you guys know. And that's what people want to know right now. What's coming. But you also need to be prepping. You need to know how to prep. Look, guys, I'll walk the walk. Some people just talk the talk. Look where I'm living. Bing! This is it. I'm living in my bug out zone. There's no neighbors anywhere near me. I'm totally off grid. And I go outside, it's really quiet. Except occasional coyote yipping or a raven. Well, thank you, Fazioli. I think we should be watching 2i and C3 that's chasing it. And with 2i is way out now, we can't even see it anymore. Samsung has developed the technology to make better batteries. Yeah, the better battery technology is coming out. The only good thing about the electrical vehicle market is it's forced a lot of battery research. A lot of battery research. And hey, you know what? What I like about that is one of these days, I hope the batteries are good enough that I can get me a flying a backpack with a couple of propellers up here and maybe a little stand for it on the back side, and I can just go fly away. That's what I want. Backpack, human drone. Some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away. I'll fly away in the morning. Well, maybe not when the life's over. I like to do it before my life's over. But strap one on and wouldn't that be fun? Yes. Of course, I think we discovered what should be our motto. Just like the tree planted by the water, I shall not be moved. I think that ought to be our water. I shall not be moved. That should be our motto here. I don't know, I'm thinking more about nickel iron. There you go, Jesse. Yeah, there's a lot of technology out there, nickel iron, sodium batteries, research. They got some good research going on. So it's just a matter of time. Supercapacitors with graphene. So it's just a matter of time. They're going to come up with better stuff. But still, you need a heat source if you're stranded in a blizzard. Yeah, I could use better battery technology here too. I'm using golf cart batteries to keep this place powered up. The reason I'm using golf cart batteries is they don't have battery management systems in it. So if there's an EMP, my batteries won't be fried. I may still have to replace the inverters and charge controllers, but the batteries aren't going to be fried. I'm probably going to have to get up sometime early this morning and make sure my shingles aren't coming off. Ooh, yeah, 70-mile-an-hour winds. We sit all the time at Fort Greely, Alaska. Some places we get that every month. And then you got to build stuff differently there. So let's go into the egg count guess. How many eggs did I get today? First person that gets it wins. All right, guys, take a guess. How many eggs we get today? Supply and demand is everything. Supply and demand is the bottom line. All right, that's true, Arnold. So, all right, folks, guess how many eggs did I get today? First person to guess gets it. Wins. Wow. First person guessed. Bill, old hillbilly. Wow, old hillbilly got it. Old hillbilly, first guess was on the money. Now, he wasn't first guess. Okay, Fazioli had a guess before that. Old hillbilly got it. Old hillbilly got it. Two. Two eggs. Sorry, Fazioli, you got the first guess. But the first right guess was old hillbilly. Two eggs. That's what I got today. It's time of the year that the hens aren't going to be laying as much. They ought to be. I'm spoiling the heck out of them. I give them fresh vegetables twice a day. So they ought to be happy. I'm going to get some hearts. Appreciate that. All right. Old hillbilly, he got it right off. Well, he probably got some hens himself. He probably just guessing whatever he picked up today. Just enough for breakfast. That's right. You take two eggs. You know what I do? What I'm about to do? I do have a little microwave here. If the sun's shining, I can use it. I can use it a little bit in the dark ones. It's short. I just got a gas. I got a camp stove. It's got an oven in it, and the eyes on top. And the valve I had with the regulator wasn't working. I just ordered one through Amazon. So I actually got a new, I tried to go down here to local shops and they didn't have the right valves. So I had to order one offline and I got it and it's working now. So now I can actually cook. And what's great is I can start making tea again. Uh, that's something I really look forward to. And the cool thing about it is when I lived in Alabama and I made tea, my kitchen was way upstairs and I set the water to boil and I come down, I get working on my computer, and I would forget about it. I had probably burned up 2 dozen pots. I mean, just melting them right on the stove. Here, yeah, I got an eye on it right immediately. That ain't gonna happen here. Shouldn't. Although I did leave my coffee maker on a lot longer than I meant to one day. I got to worry. You don't want to use a lot of power after dark, even with $5,000 worth of batteries. The limiting factor in solar, I got 9 kW of solar panels out there, but the limited factor is the batteries. I can put in a couple more strings and increase my amp hours a fair bit, but I got 3 strings of 6-volt cells, stringed up to make 48 volts. But yeah. So I got 24 cells totally. So I could add another dozen or so. Uh, it's 8. I could add about 16 more cells and increase my amp hours a fair bit, but still, and that would make a big difference. I really need to do that. But I already spent $5,000 on batteries and the cheapest ones I could find anywhere, and I ordered them out of Georgia. I had them shipped here. And I looked all over the country for cheap batteries. That was the best deal I got. So I'll probably go back to the same source. But I need more, but I just can't afford them right now. Can't afford them. So and that's just the bottom line. You gotta buy what you can pay for, right? I had a guy message me and say he had been living for a year on just 400 watts of solar power. Well, I had a 100-watt panel on the top of my van. I lived in that van for over a year out there, but occasionally I would augment it with a generator. Uh, so anyway, we got to go. It's 1:30 here almost. And I got to get in the morning. So I want to thank you, mods, for keeping the channel clean. And I want to thank everybody for watching. And just remember, guys, part of the reasons I bring some of these things out is because everybody does want to know what's coming because everybody's trying to time things in their head. And we can't do it absolutely, but seeing this stuff, it does help. It does help you understand. But also, there are channels out there who come out every video is red alert, sky's falling, the nukes are about to fly every minute. There are several channels that do that. I get people, some of you guys have gotten panicked by that and contacted me and says, Greg, look what's happening. Oh no. And I said, calm down. It's just this, it's just that. Don't worry about it. I do try to put things in perspective. And I've always told you never panic, ever. So the whole objective is to understand what we're dealing with in the world. And a lot of it is spiritual. In my last live video, I was really talking more about the powers that be, the puppet masters. And I'm going to go back to that topic again in the not too distant future, as we got a little bit more to explore in that area. But I was trying to get you guys aware of the things. We're in a spiritual conflict more than anything else. We got to worry about Russia, and we got to worry about China, but there's a bigger spiritual war going on right now, and that's the main battle theater. And your soul is the most important thing you've got. And some of these elements in society want to take away our humanity. I'll be talking about that in the near future. So everybody's got to understand that. And these are things I do talk about. And also, we got to stand up for ourselves. Men, be men. Man up when the situation calls for it. Like old Jack says on Black Scouts Survival, he always say, stay frosty, stay dangerous. That's some pretty good advice. Pretty good advice. I pack a lot of heat, you know, and hey, my younger days, I took karate, and that was after I got out of the military. I've been in the military. I've taken karate, you know, for several years. I don't brag about it. I don't come here and talk about it a lot, but that was part of my prepping. Um, I'm not in the shape I used to be in, but I'm still not too bad for a 65-year-old man. So we got to take care of ourselves, take care of our minds, but mostly our souls. You know, that's the most precious thing you got is your soul. The second most precious thing aside from your family, your family members, your mind. And this is your most potent weapon right here. Know how to use it. And get your preps in order. And the best prepping is self-reliance. And self-reliance, it's good to store things in the cabinet or in your good to store things in a and I got to build one out here. I really got to build one. I wish I had one right now. I got a whole bunch of squash that needs to be in a root cellar. And I'm afraid I'm going to lose some of it because I don't have it in the root cellar. In the summer out in my little battery building, if it gets too cold, they might freeze. Ones in here may go bad. Those are too warm. I need to put it in the root cellar really bad, but it's hard to dig out here without machinery. This ground is hard as a rock. But, guys, uh, grow your own food. You do want the stores because even if you're growing your own food, if you've been a long time, if you grew up on a farm like I did, if you've been a gardener for a long time, no hillbilly will know this. You get bad years, you get droughts, you get hailstorms, floods. There's a lot of things that on a yearly basis can wipe out your crops. This is why when you have a good year, you save extra food and seeds. If your plan is to go water seeds every year and go to the grocery store and buy fertilizer, herbicides, pesticides, and all that stuff, then you're not sustainable. And a lot of my earliest videos were about how to be sustainable in your gardening. If you can save your seeds, maybe have some worms or good composting techniques. And if you follow the things I was teaching early on, you ain't got to go to the store for nothing. And that's where you need to be. Get your tools, garden implements. How many times did I do videos on that? Many. But how many times I need to do a video on picking hose? We're talking about the ones you use in the garden. How many times have I got to do a video on that? I've covered a lot of this stuff. Now I can do a whole new genre, I guess, with desert gardening, but I got some more work to do on here. But I might do that a little bit more. But I plan to actually eventually open another channel and there's so much news content on this channel. It's really hard to find the how-to content. So I may do just a whole channel on how-to stuff, mostly in the prepping, grid down genre. So, okay, I meant to wrap this up, but sometimes I just got to share some advice. And I need to learn more about the plants in this area. And I think that's a good exercise for me because if I learn these, then I will have wild edibles and medicinals on both the east and west sides of this nation. And I know all the stuff out east in terms of wild edibles and medicinals. I've done several videos on that. So I do plan to climb that ladder here too. And there's still, I know a few, but not enough. So you ever tried float beds? You mean like aquaponics? I did have a deep water culture aquaponics system. I'm planning to do sand. I'm going to do some more aquaponics out here. I'm going to do the sand aquaponics. That's one of my go-to plans. I plan to build some greenhouses. I still got a lot of work to do here. I got to redo my garden beds. I need to dig down deeper. I had a hard time breaking my dirt and it was late, so I dealt with what I had, but it cost me a lot of water. So I've got some good lessons learned. Sometimes the best lessons in life are the ones for you that are hard learned. Anyway, so whether silver is cheap or expensive isn't the issue. The most available, it's the amount available in the marketplace that determines it. Yeah, well, there's a shortage of it. That's the problem. It's actually a shortage. Demand's higher than supply. Oh, used to do we used to do plant starts that way. Okay. Yeah, that's not a bad way. All right, folks, we got to go. I got to go. Once again, I want to say thank you, mods, and thank you, everyone, for watching. Share my videos. Please share them far and wide. We need help. I've been, 90 minutes. That's really too long. People don't want to watch it in the morning. I got to make these things quicker. But I get talking with you guys. I can't help it. And I love you guys. I really do. We're a family here. And so I'm just trying to share that extra little bit of information. Anyway, we're going to have to go. So with that, I'm going to say, yeah, I should have went with the egg count, right? So to one and all, good night, good day, wherever you are. Again, thank you for watching, and